Alright guys, this video is about buckwheat. I usually do maybe 1 or 2 videos a year about buckwheat because it's a very powerful plant to help not only improve the soil but also to attract beneficial insects and bugs and birds and butterflies and things like that. But typically there's a few things you need to know about buckwheat before you go to plant it. I usually plant it every single year. I think I skipped maybe like a year or two or something not planting it. Straight buckwheat, or I plant a blend that has buckwheat in it. But always, if I'm just trying to help improve the soil, I'm always going to have a blend in there, whether it's mixed with buckwheat. It could be sunflowers or sun hemp or some clover, something in there that can provide a lot of organic matter back into the soil. One of the things of using buckwheat is that it helps build soil. And I learned this, a long time ago from Jeff, is when you're planting buckwheat, or the whole idea of improving your soil is to build up your bank account. Your soil is the bank account. So the whole goal in all of this and planting buckwheat, or adding some sunflowers to it or something like that, is that over the years, over time, you're building up your bank account in the soil, meaning that you're adding nutrients, you're adding the organic matter, and you're adding beneficial micronutrients to the soil, to where each year that soil has a higher capability of holding nutrients. So what that means is each year when you do a soil sample and you're doing rotations of buckwheat and other sunflowers and things, is that you should see on your soil sample each year the nutrients in that level go up and up and up and up. And what that's going to correlate to is the soil's ability to hold those nutrients for longer periods of time. So in 2, 3, 4 years, you go to do a soil sample and all of a sudden you don't need any fertilizer. So you're building up your bank account in the initial start of it. So therefore later in that soil's life, in your life, you don't have to spend any money on fertilizer because it's already there. The soil now has that capability of holding nutrients in there because of the organic matter increase and the CEC increase, and things like that. So that's one way to look at it, and look at buckwheat, and planting some sunflowers in there, whatever you can use for organic matter when you turn that, work that soil, organic matter back into the soil and create green manure. So that's one way to look at buckwheat. Another thing too is, when you plant it, typically if you're planting early, say in May, and then you're not going to plant your fall food plot until say August, end of August, you can actually get 2 plantings of buckwheat. So buckwheat is a very fast growing crop and it's very high in moisture content. So it'll help prevent weed growth when you use enough seed per acre, but it's also high in moisture content. So if deer do eat it, they're going to be getting moisture, for their daily requirements. But, it can mature in 50, 60, 70 days to where it starts creating a seed head. So typically when it starts creating the white flower on it, you have roughly 10 days before it starts having seeds, which is not a bad thing depending how you look at it. So if you're planting it, early, in May or something, you have a long growing season before you plant your fall food plot. So you could let that buckwheat go for 30, 40 days and then work it back into the soil, and then, replant it, right? So you can get 2 crops, 2 rotations of that a year, or you can let that go to seed, let all that buckwheat go to seed, and then you can just simply mow it, and that seed will regerminate back to the soil, and regerminate, and you can have a second crop that way. But I'm seeing a lot of people complaining because they're planting buckwheat and they're letting it go to seed, and then all of a sudden they mow it or whatever they're doing with it, and then all of a sudden they're planting their fall food plot at the same time, and they're getting a secondary crop of buckwheat growing up through, which is not really a horrible thing, but it can smother out some other things if you're planting them, take up space, when, because of the first frost or cold temperatures it gets, buckwheat's done for. So that you just have to be careful with that. Look for the flowering of it, and do your timing right. Like, I'm not planting buckwheat until first, second week of June, or even later than that. It just really depends on my goal. If you want to do 2 rotations or 1, and some states down in the South, you can actually get away with 3 plantings of buckwheat. It just really depends on your goals, what you're using it for, and how serious you are about improving your soil. But I know many guys that get 2-3 plantings out of it a year. And recently I had Field and Stream, a writer from there, reach out to me about the methods of using various techniques, and not using chemicals on food plots, and how to improve the soil. And they wrote a great article with all my details in that article, and I'll actually post a link to that down in the description. You guys can check out, because it wasn't just an article just on that. There was several different methods from other guys as well, but they used my techniques and stuff in that article you can read. And buckwheat is related to that as well, so that could help you reading it as well. So that's a few ways to look at buckwheat, a few ways you can use it, and hopefully this helps. If you have any more questions, you guys can leave a comment down below. I'll help you out further. I'll reply to you, and give the video a thumbs up if you appreciate the info, and subscribe if you guys are new. I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you want more information on food plots, soil samples, and habitat management, click this video right here on the screen. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you guys are new.